Here it is a bright afternoon. I'm looking right out my windows. The sun is shining, and we're not having any of those flash floods that we've been having for the longest time. So I just wanted to go live really quickly because I am a presenter, I'm a speaker, smack dab in the intersection of leadership and communication. And I just wanted to really share some thoughts and some ideas. I don't know if you have been a part of any virtual sessions, virtual presentations. Give me 1 second. Let me just make sure that everything's right. Okay. Yep. Any virtual sessions, any presentations recently? One more minute. Let me make sure that I have all of this correct. Great. There we go. I don't know if you've been a part of any virtual sessions, virtual presentations recently, but not only have I been delivering them, I've been a part of a lot. I mean, if you've got an email or you're on a mailing list, you've probably seen webinars. You've seen a whole lot of different things coming your way recently. And so I wanted to talk for just a moment about some of the things that I'm seeing. Now, I was on a couple of weeks ago with a friend of mine, and we talked about 10 things that we hate for Zoom sessions. But I don't want to talk about what I hate via on Zoom right now. I want to talk about some of the things that presenters are doing or can be doing, hey Pedro, to share, to create greater connection create greater engagement, just create a greater response. Because here's what's happening: a lot of times people are getting on virtual sessions, virtual meetings, and they've been around for a long time. Right? They started out as teleconferences way back in the day. Then we started to do some things video. There was Adobe Connect, there was GoToMeeting, there's WebEx, there's all of these platforms. And a lot of organizations started to use these as one of their modes of communication. But lately, especially over the last 3 months with the global pandemic, that has been a crucial source of communication for a lot of organizations. And a lot of organizations, unfortunately, are not doing it right. Right? There's some things that they're doing that are causing people to either not pay attention, log off, or not remember or not get connected with the information that's being shared. And so I want to share with you in about the next 7 or 8 minutes or less. If you've got any questions, we'll take them later. But I want to share with you in the next 7 or 8 minutes or so the 3 top things that I see organizations not doing on their virtual presentations, or the 3 top mistakes that I see them making on virtual presentations. All right. So actually, I want to type some of these in. So let me go here and I'm going to put number 1 in. Okay. So the number 1 thing that I see on the number 1 mistake that I see on virtual presentations that is causing people to log off early or not pay as much of attention or not get connected is low energy. Low energy. I don't know if you have seen or been to a meeting where the presenter or the facilitator is just kind of like, yeah. So today we're going to look back at the report of this week and right. So you get into a meeting, and as leaders, as facilitators, as communicators, we set the tone for the meeting. We set the tone for the session. We set the tone for the presentation, and your energy is something that people will tie into. They'll lock into that energy very early on. And if you are low energy in the beginning of a meeting or later on in the meeting or whenever it is, your audience members, your team members, your employees, the people that are attending that meeting, that session, that training with you, that presentation with you, their energy is affected by that. Have you ever had a conversation with someone and you're giving information or you're listening to them, and their delivery, the way that they do it, it just kind of rubs off on you. And sometimes because the energy is so low, because they're not paying attention to that, you just don't even want to be there anymore. And so One of the big mistakes is low energy. And so if you want to increase the attention, if you want to increase the engagement, if you want to make sure that your audience is listening, one of the best ways of doing that is being intentional about your energy. Being intentional about your energy. And a lot of times, some of us, we assume that we're higher energy. Get some help. Ask some questions. Make sure that someone is able to give you some feedback about how you're appearing, because a lot of times we think that we're a certain way, and then we look at ourselves on video and it's not the same thing that we thought. I've had it happen to me. And I would say that I'm fairly high energy for my deliveries, my keynotes, my presentations. And there are times where I look at a video or I'll see something and I'm like, whoa, it didn't feel like that low energy to me. So your energy and the way that you deliver information is going to be critical to having that virtual presentation, that virtual session, that virtual meeting go a lot better. Okay, so that's one. The second thing, let me make sure that I can type in the second thing here. And this one is critical, right? The second thing is lecturing instead of engaging. Lecturing instead of engaging. That's a little bit big. Let me see where do I need to put that. It's going to cover my face. All right, I'll just leave it there for the time being. All right, lecturing instead of engaging. Let me. There we go. All right, so we'll do it that way. Okay, lecturing instead of engaging. Now, here's what I mean by that. If you've never been to a session where you've got to be there for 30 minutes or an hour, and there's one person talking the entire time. Worse if they're boring, right? Worse if they're boring. They're talking the entire time, and maybe they might have slides, maybe they might have charts, maybe they might have information, and they're kind of showing that to you on the side. But it's a monologue the entire time, lecturing instead of engaging, right? What are the opportunities that you are giving your audience to engage in the information of what you're saying, right? Johnny Parker say you're the Yoda of great energy. I don't know if about that, Johnny, but yeah, we're working on it, man. We're working on it. All right, let me actually see. Let me make sure that I can get Johnny's comments on the screen here. 1 second. Okay, we'll bring that up just a little bit later on. Anyway, so what happens is that if it becomes a monologue and you're not engaging, or you're not finding moments where the audience can respond to what you're saying or what you're sharing, then they tune out. They tune out emotionally. They tune out mentally. They tune out physically, because sitting in a chair and trying to focus and get your attention locked into the presenter for the entire time over the course of 30 minutes, over the course of 60 minutes, over the course of 90 minutes, it's challenging. It's challenging. And a lot of organizations, we're having to go to that. You're having to experience that. So as a presenter, as a facilitator, as someone that is leading a discussion or leading the exchange of information or the transmission of information, what can you do to get engagement? Now, if you're in a virtual space, that might mean asking a question and looking for a response in the chat. Okay? It may mean that you are asking them to do something on screen. Maybe it's whiteboarding. It may mean that you are allowing them to come on the audio and respond to something. Now, I know those things can be, that really depends on the number of people and the size of the virtual event. But what are the things that you're going to do? How can you intentionally decide? How can you intentionally provide moments for audience or group response? Okay. If you have not experienced this yet, one of the things that you can do is utilize a poll feature. A lot of software, a lot of the virtual experience software comes with an internal poll feature. Okay. A polling feature, and you can use that. But there are third-party tools and apps that really help with audience engagement as well. Kahoot. Okay, Kahoot.com or Kahoot.it, Kahoot. That is one piece of software that you can use to engage with the audience. And I think it's pretty neat. Okay, a lot of teachers, if you're in the education space, a lot of teachers use that. Kahoot is one. Poll Everywhere is another. Okay, polleverywhere.com. Go check that out. That's an audience engagement tool or application that you can use. I don't know if you've ever been a part of, and I think this might have been how American Idol did it, where you have the audience voting and live on screen, you kind of see the bar graph or the stats just moving. Poll Everywhere is a piece of software that does that. And that's one of the things that you can do to engage your audience. A third one, Mentimeter. Mentimeter.com. That's another site that you can use for audience engagement and interaction, right? So there are a lot of them. There are a few that I like. The ones that I've mentioned are ones that I have personal experience with and that I think are really good. But there are just so many audience engagement applications. Okay. And when I say audience, I'm not just talking about, okay, you've got an audience of 100, 150 people. This might be the case in a small meeting. Maybe you are the CEO or the COO or one of the execs in the organization, and you're leading a meeting and you want to have a different mode or a different method of engagement. Okay, you don't necessarily have to do it, but maybe you have a producer or you have a teammate alongside you that is able to launch some of these things so that you can focus on your content. But you really want to be able to come up with methods of engagement outside of just you talking. You want to create a monologue, even if it's not a fully verbal monologue. You want to at least create not monologue. You want to create a dialogue. I'm sorry. You want to create a dialogue, even if it's not a fully verbal dialogue. You want to create a dialogue of energy exchange, of mental exchange, where the audience can be then involved in what you're saying. Okay, so the third mistake that I see a lot of companies making is, and I'm saying, failing to create. Let me actually just write it this way so it doesn't take up my entire screen. Is connection. Failing to create a point of connection. Okay, a lot of times we have these virtual sessions, we have these virtual meetings, and we say good morning or we say hello and launch right into the content. We go right into the information, and I want to get there quickly. I don't want to lollygag. I don't want to offer any fluff. I don't want to just kind of hop around for a little bit. I want to get right to the point, and that's good. However, in virtual sessions, you've got to figure out, number one, where your audience is. What are some of the things that you can use to draw closer to them? What are some of the pieces of information? What are some of the tidbits that you can use to move closer to them and get them to just feel like you are a real person, that you are a real, that you know them, that you care about them, that you understand who they are, right? So one of the things that you can do is just prepare a question that is going to enable you to connect with people. Okay. One of the simplest questions that you can ask is, where are you logging in from? Okay, cool. And what I'll do is I'll type in, I'm logging in from Maryland. I'm logging in from Beltsville, Maryland, which is my hometown. Okay. Boom. Then I'll see Apopka, Florida. I'll see Edison, New Jersey. I'll see Atlanta, Georgia. I'll see Washington, D.C. I'll see Minneapolis, Minnesota. I'll see Scranton, Pennsylvania. I'll see Syracuse, New York. And I can share that information, right? And I'll call out the names and I'll see these places. And as I call the places, as I share the places, right? What happens is people then get connected to that information, right? So the location is one of the ways that you can make connections. I'll share one more. Right now, we are, especially as we've been in quarantine, one of the things that a lot of people are doing is binge watching on TV shows, right? Maybe they're not watching it on cable, maybe they're watching it on Netflix, or they're watching it on Hulu or some other streaming service, Disney Plus, Apple Plus, or whatever it is, okay? One of the questions that you might ask to connect with people is sharing with them or saying, hey, what show are people binge watching on? Okay. Terrence is saying, then give them shout outs. Excellent, Terrence. Yeah. What show have you been binge watching? And so somebody might say, okay, listen, I've been just watching every season of Game of Thrones. Somebody else might say, I've watched the Wire. Somebody else might say, whatever else it is. My son, who is about 12 years old, one of the things that he's done during this time is he's been binge watching some superhero shows. Listen, he watched about 7 seasons or 6 seasons of The Flash within a few weeks, right? And so that's the thing that's right in his brain. That's the thing that he will want to talk about. That's the thing that he can engage with and connect with. And if I can talk about a character or someone inside of The Flash, I've got him. I've got a connection point with him. So with your audience, what are the things that you can bring up? What are the things that you can use? What are the things that you can mention to create and make a connection with your audience? So I've given you 2, and if you want to share more, we can talk a little bit later on. But I've given you 2 really easy ones: location and what's recent for them. What are they watching? Okay, so those are the 3 top mistakes that I see a lot of virtual presenters, organizational facilitators making during some of their virtual sessions. And if you want to create continued attention, if you want your audience to not just listen to you, but get to the point where they've got the information and you've created that connection with them so that they're willing to move to action after the meeting, then you've really got to navigate these mistakes. You've got to be able to navigate these things. And so I just wanted to share that with you because one of the missions that I've got is, oh my gosh, no more boring presentations. And now we're in this COVID world, no more boring virtual presentations. Right? As a business leader, as an executive, as somebody who is not just a facilitator, but an influencer in an organization, your job is to transmit information in a way that allows people to get it and then be motivated to move and be in action after that. So in virtual sessions, in virtual environments, what can you do to ensure that? What can you do to ensure that? So I want you to pay attention to your energy. I want you to pay attention to your engagement, and I want you to pay attention to your connection. Your energy, your engagement, and your connection. And you can be intentional about these things. If you're not clear on how to do it, listen, let's get connected. I'd love to work with you. I'd love to share with you. I'd love to chat with you just a little bit more about some of the techniques that you can use to make this easier for you. Okay, you can get connected with me right here. If you're on LinkedIn, get connected with me on LinkedIn. And if you are on Facebook, connect with me there. You can connect with me on YouTube as well. I'm everywhere as Robert Kennedy 3. And you can also go to our company site, kineticcommunications.com, where we work with organizations on leadership and communication. I'd love to connect with you there and share with your organizations how you can take your virtual communication and your in-person communication to that next level. All right. That's all I wanted to share today. I wanted to leave you with these last 3 words. Don't forget, speak up, speak out, and lead well. I'll see you soon.